Hey there, lovely people, it's Tal here over at the Gamer's Rest with the third in our episodes of the solo playthrough of the TTRPG reference hopping. So, this is a journaling game, and what you're getting here is the third part of my journaling journey, if that makes sense. So, if you've not heard any of the previous stuff, do go back, check out the review, check out the first two episodes so you get an idea as to what we're actually talking about here. But if you've already enjoyed the first couple, this is the final one in this series, and yeah, I hope you enjoy it. So without further ado, don't forget to download a copy of Reference Hopping either from itch.io, where you can see it under Reference Hopping, or under DriveThruRPG. And yeah, let's get stuck into this episode. 11. Employee information name, Garrett Toll. ID 1106, primary branch tutorial. Site information, logonym Quintessential. Site supervisor Tenric Terrickson IV. Sequence of travel, tutorial to Trapezoidrons to Quintessential. Task summary and status. Initial request summary, loan request, esoteric banishing rituals. Provide a detailed report of activities and any obstacles to completing your task. Today marked a whole new level of weirdness. Even before travelling, when I picked up the book, it started threatening me. What's strange was that they weren't violent threats, but things that promised to make my life more miserable. For example, it told me it was going to hide all of my socks, break the snooze button on my alarm clock, and then chew through my phone charger lead. I wanted to be rid of the damn thing and planned to hand it over to Administrator Terrickson as soon as I arrived. Unfortunately, he was in a meeting, and so I was forced to sit in the library waiting for him. The book then decided to start hurling insults at the patrons, mimicking my voice. Luckily, the administration came in to stop a particularly outraged old lady from shoving a cane where it definitely doesn't belong. I planned to hand over the book and leave as quickly as I could, but I was asked to assist in its usage and help banish a particularly vicious toadstool queen who was wandering the library, sucking patrons into books and forcing them to become part of the story. The ritual itself wasn't very difficult, but every few seconds the book attempted to put me off by correcting my pronunciation. It took a while, but in the end the ritual was complete and the patrons were freed. Most seemed unharmed by the experience, although I'd recommend we keep an eye on the old lady who got stuck inside 50 Shades of Grey, as I think she may need some counselling. Administrator Terrickson signed off my worksheet and was most insistent that he did not require the book for anything else and I should take it back with me. Personal note. This really is intolerable. I've had to endure some pretty terrible things for this job, but I draw the line at having that book in my home. I returned it as normal, but when I opened my front door, I caught it telling Alexa to cancel all my appointments and changing the language setting to Spanish. If this is not resolved, I'll be handing in my notice with immediate effect. Additional. Thank you for responding to my last message. I can confirm that I wasn't there was a 5-year notice period, and that failure to give this would result in loss of my toes and spleen. Regarding my growing book collection, I have now trained the esoteric banishing rituals book to answer my phone. It seems to be particularly happy dealing with cold callers. Report ends. 12. Employee information. Name Garrett Toll. ID 1106, primary branch tutorial. Site information. Logonym Recrystallization. Site supervisor Gorek the Destroyer. Sequence of travel, tutorial to transcendentalism to recrystallization. Task summary and status. Initial request summary, magma circulation desk. Please provide a report of your activities and any obstacles to completing your tasks. Do we have a health and safety team? The only reason I ask is that we might want to visit this library. Well, I say library, it's actually a hollowed out dormant volcano with 2 stone bookshelves. I was met at the entrance by Mr. Destroyer, as he preferred to be called, and he showed me around the cave. Before we started working on routing an old lava flow up to the front desk, this was an easy job, especially as we had to work around an army of dwarves who were fighting some kind of dragon. To be fair to them, they did stop for a cup of tea when we had to run the final cable across the cavern floor. Everything seemed to be up and running until we discovered a blockage in one of the pipes, which turned out to be a gold ring. I tried to give it to Mr. Destroyer, but he recoiled and said something about not tempting him, so I've deposited it in the tutorial archives. Once set up, the desk glowed a nice shade of red, which seemed to please Mr. Destroyer. I can only apologise for the state of the worksheets. Now that the magma is flowing, Mr. Destroyer is, well, a 15-foot fire golem. Lucky for me, the Cardian prevented me from burning to cinders. Personal note. The Esoteric Banishing Rituals books seemed pleased to see me when I got home. I think it was because it had just got on the phone with a particularly vicious energy salesperson. As the books don't seem to be going anywhere, I've decided to start reading them. I have no idea what any of it means. Report ends. Employee information. Name Garrett Toll. ID 1106. Primary branch tutorial. Site information. Login Topsy-Turvy. Site supervisor Commander Lucy Lawson. Sequence of travel tutorial to Topsy-Turvy. Task summary and status. Initial request: stabilise the rotational modulator. Provide a detailed report of activities and any obstacles to completing your task. I won't ask why we have a library on board the International Space Station, because I really don't think I'd like the answer. I was met in the airlock by the Commander Lawson. She asked if I'd been drawn straight from a comic book. She looked as if she'd been drawn straight from a comic book. She looked as if she'd been drawn straight from a comic book. Amazing hair, a strong jaw, and arms that could probably break a lion in half. She explained that something had damaged the rotational modulator, which of course was located outside. Unfortunately, none of the crew were allowed to fix it due to a passage in the International Galactic Treaty we had signed. Apparently, only library technicians of level 3 or above have the authority to cross into the Imprig territory. I was about to say I knew nothing about fixing space equipment when she promptly pushed me out of the airlock and into deep space. My first thought was that I'm clearly going to die. However, it seems the Cardian comes with a built-in ability to survive the extremes of deep space. I spent the next hour making my way around the station looking for this modulator, until I found what looked to be a tiny wheel handle that got bumped around. I had no idea how I was supposed to fix it, and I spent the next few minutes pondering what I should do. It was then I remembered those strange words that Miss Harper had said, that whenever she didn't know what to do, she would always turn right. I grabbed the wheel, and with a great deal of effort, turned it to the right. About 3 seconds later, a hole appeared in the hull next to me, producing a nozzle of some sort of space cannon. It fired up before shooting a huge beam of light into the darkness of space. At this point, Commander Lawson came over the radio and thanked me for my work, telling me I could come back to the station now. Upon re-entering the station, I asked what the blast was, and she advised me that they had been in communication with another planet who were willing to trade advanced medical knowledge for the next season of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Bewildered by the whole thing, I had my worksheet signed off before being told that if I ever wanted a job out here, she'd put in a good word for me. Personal note. I've just been to space. Report ends. 14. Employee information. Name Garrett Toll. ID 1106. Primary branch tutorial. Site information. Login Ultra Microfiche. Site supervisor D. Tutorial to Unmercurial to Ultra Microfiche. Task summary and status. Initial request summary. Inventory storage. Room 24 Triangle C. Provide a detailed report of your activities and any obstacles to completing your tasks. This is a relatively simple job. I was met by Dee, a tall, thin woman with the voice and visage of an undertaker. She pointed me in the right direction and gave me a pair of steel gloves, an air freshener, and an A4 pad of paper. The job consisted mostly of me writing down the titles of books and then placing them into one of two piles. When I asked how she wanted them sorted, she replied that she didn't know and that I was just to sort them. Unfortunately, some of the books were so old they felt like dust in my hands, so I spent a very boring day sorting through the contents. However, two additions stood out to me. The first book was entitled The 17 and a Half Commandments, which I did have a quick read through, and let's just say I'm pretty glad they decided to remove some of them before settling on the final 12. The other text was a heavy book entitled Was Merlin the Magician Real? Again, I opened the book to find out it had one page with just the word no written on it. After I was done, Dee signed off my worksheet with a quill and what I hoped was red ink, and I was on my way. Personal note. I don't know why I'm surprised by this, but when I got home, one of the piles of dust books I'd sorted was sitting on my shelf. This of course included the 2 books mentioned above. For once, the Esoteric Banishing Rituals book, or EBRB, as I started calling it, was quiet and withdrawn. I don't know how it's possible for a book to look scared, but it was the vibe I got every time I looked at the copy of Was Merlin Real? Report ends. 15. Employee information. Garrett Toll. ID 1106. Primary branch tutorial. Site information. Logonym whimsical. Site supervisor Dorothy.Wright. Sequence of travel. Tutorial to tabulated to whimsical. Task summary and status. Initial request summary. Fill in for tea and tails. Provide a detailed report your activities and any obstacles to completing your task. I can't believe I've been here 6 months now and this is my first trip to this library. I was met by a very enthusiastic Dorothy, or Dottie as she insists I call her. She was prim and proper and looked like a kindergarten teacher from the 70s. Nevertheless, she was kind, filled me with tea and explained on Fridays a group would come in and listen to stories for the morning. Unfortunately, the usual performer, Giggles the Clown, had been arrested the previous night for smuggling over £1 million of cocaine into the country. Apparently, even the police were impressed with how much he'd managed to fit inside his clown shoes. I initially picked out a couple of books I believed was suitable and waited for the group to arrive. To my shock, the group was shown in were all middle-aged businessmen in smart Italian suits. I panicked thinking my choice of books was wholly unsuitable and I was about to leave when one of the men asked what I did for a living. I have no idea how it started, but I began to recount all the strange goings-on I'd experienced since working here. From the weird camelid petroglyph to going into space, and they seemed enraptured by it all. Before I knew it, they were thanking me, handing over their business cards, and filing out. Dottie said she'd never seen them so happy and hoped I would come again to tell them more stories. She signed off my sheet, leaving her number at the bottom, and I left. Personal note. Everything was quiet when I got back, no strange new occurrences. The next day, I received another postcard from Jerry. It was a little strange. It simply read, "I'm sorry I've not been to see you, but I heard you're on the road to recovery. It's a miracle you survived at all. Who'd have thought a stray raven could cause that much damage to the plane? Take it easy, rest up, and we'll come and see you soon." I held it in my hands for some time before I realised what had been bothering me about it. Not just the words themselves, but the postmark date on the card. It was 1 year from now. And that's it, folks. That is my playthrough of reference hopping. I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget you can download a copy yourself from itch.io or DriveThruRPG. And of course, you could follow me across the Gamers Rest under the social media where you can check out what I do. Lots of stuff on the channel at the moment. So I do hope that you like it. Do like and subscribe. And yeah, we will see you again soon where I will be once again reviewing TTRPGs for the solo review. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you real soon. Bye!